Oh,
Alrighty.
put my name and everything. That's what I like to see.
What happened? What happened? Oh, yeah. Oh, there you got your whole name. Yeah, you like that, huh?
Updated screen. The headshot too. I feel blessed.
Well, Sean, bro, it's all Sean. So when you see Sean, like when you see him in the Super Bowl this year, and we're all in Arizona covering the Dolphins.
Tell you what,
I told you that's my. You better buy Sean a beer. Okay. Well, actually,
I will do you one. I'll do you one better. I'll give you
an energy drink. He doesn't drink alcohol.
I will treat y'all to the best burger in Tempe, Arizona. It was a college staple when I was at Arizona State. The Chuck Box, man, char grilled, cash only, hole in the wall, looking ass establishment. I haven't been in it's actually almost been 10 years. That's scary. It's been probably 8 years since I've been at this point. But no, I will treat y'all to it. I will treat y'all to it.
Okay. All right. You heard, Sean. You heard right there. That's it. You're gonna get your love there. All right. So Sean will get his burger. He's got the thumbs up. He wants the burger.
You guys see that in the background over there? Did y'all like that? In the comments, you see Josh Allen slam his helmet down after losing to the Vikings?
Yeah. Yeah.
Frankie sees it.
I got a question for you. I've asked this to Ian Rappaport, and I've asked this to Matt Verderame, and I'll do this with you now. So Josh Allen, last 3 games, got 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He's completing 57.4% of his passes. He's got 9 sacks in the last 3 games. Verderame added a really interesting stat. He's like 84% of their offense right now, which basically you're asking a guy to die right on the field because it's too much on any player whatsoever. So you're putting a lot of the burden on him. But now we're also watching Dable leave and actually have some success with the Giants, even though I think the Giants are kind of fraudish. But I got to give them credit. They've won. And actually their quarterback has looked better than he ever has in his career as it is.
Looking franchise tag worthy.
Right. Does Ken Dorsey start taking a little heat for the shortcomings of the offense since Dable left? Or it's not Dorsey's fault that they really can't run the ball and you've got to put more of the burden on Josh? How are they going to view it in Buffalo land since you are wearing Buffalo Bills underwears right now?
I won't. This is a family show. But I tap into Bill's Twitter every now and then just to see what the temperature is. They're mad that the team can't run the ball. Right. They're mad that, when they get in the red zone, 0 called run plays as Josh scrambles around and tries to fit balls in the windows that are not necessarily there. And you think like, why can't this team run the ball? You have one of the preeminent running threats at quarterback in the NFL right now. That should automatically open lanes for your running backs. Devin Singletary is guaranteed to break a tackle anytime he touches the ball. He doesn't have home run speed, but he's very shifty in space. I watched him for 2 years, still from afar. He's guaranteed to break a tackle. They don't run the ball.
Right.
They don't run the ball. A couple years ago, I took, it was last offseason. I split the fan base in sections because I was lobbying them to draft Travis Etienne out of Clemson in the first round. I said, look, you're maybe a handful of pieces away, if that. It's a championship constructed roster. You can afford a luxury pick like that who's going to give you flexibility in the run and the passing game. People said, don't draft a running back in the first round. Bad use of assets. Never do it. And nobody could explain to me why you never do that. They think, because the 5th-year option, the market value. Give a shit about any of that. The whole point of football is to build a team to win a Super Bowl. You win one Super Bowl and Etienne is a contributor. Who cares about his 5th year? Who cares if he makes it to a people don't understand that. And so now you're kind of seeing, okay, you lack dynamic talent in the backfield. They hoped that they got it with James Cook. But James Cook is coming along very slowly as a rookie. They already cut bait on Zach Moss and traded him for Nyheim Hines, who still hasn't necessarily made an impact, hasn't seen the field much.
He's a backup running back anyways. Who the hell is Nyheim Hines? Give me a break. He's a nice
great fantasy back, great PPR back, real life. I think when you see what ETN is doing in Jacksonville right now, I think that if I were to reopen the conversation, a lot of people would have been like, look, shit, man, if he was there, yeah, I think they should have taken him. You know, I don't always like to dance on the grave when I'm right, but
all right, so Ken Dorsey.
I'm putting it on Ken Dorsey, man. Like the offense still has talent. It's about extracting the most out of it. And right now he's not necessarily doing that.
So what you're saying is he's breaking a lot of laptops right now. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but apparently, no, that's not a big deal. We like passion, right? We like it when our
love passion. Like, I'm just saying that it's not what's for those Microsoft pads, because it's Apple Care, because I'm an Apple guy, so I know it's called Apple Care. What do they do for the Microsoft people for those pads? What's it called? Whatever that service is, they must have gotten some extra insurance with Ken Dorsey around, right? I mean,
I have no idea. I switched to an Android for about 2 months my senior year of college and have not touched one since.
It was a bad
decision. I do like the Surface Pro. I always did want one of those for the press box. Once upon a time, I used to be very screen heavy at my seat. I'd have my laptop. I'd have an iPad propped up with NFL Jesus and StatCasts running. And I'd have my phone on a mini tripod playing Red Zone or an illegally streamed Red Zone. I'll admit it now. It's past the statute of limitations. But I have since consolidated into just using my laptop. Like maybe I'll come back to my old ways, once I get that iPad money, once I get that Surface Pro money. But I have no idea. I assume Microsoft helps fix it. Like you have to.
Right, of course. All right, so did you watch the 10-minute Tua video mic'd up?
Yes.
Your thoughts on all of those elements that you saw in there of leadership?
It's the little things, the little conversations, making sure that he daps everybody up on the field, making sure he coaches up Skylar Thompson, from the sideline, the little moments he has with Teddy, the moment he had with Mike on the sideline, I thought was excellent. From Mike's perspective, just we don't get to hear a lot of their real relationship. We just hear about it. And I loved that look, man, like you're playing lights effing out right now. And Tua tries to give the whole, it's not over. The journey that we got to keep grinding. We got to keep. And Mike was basically like, yeah, bump all that. That's nice. That's nice. That doesn't mean you are not hooping right now. Like just because you know what we have to do does not take away from what you are currently doing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. The little moments with Myles Garrett after the game, with Jadeveon Clowney after the game, which confirms that they did in fact play. I had to ask Daniel Oyefusi after the game. I was like, hey, bro, did Myles Garrett play? Yeah. Is he on IR and I didn't know?
And Clowney goes, and I'm tired of you too, And so that was actually good when he said that to Tua. And then Tua's telling Myles Garrett that I didn't want to end up in your cemetery because
and then another little thing I caught was how many people he calls Zeus.
No, how about Jeff Wilson? Jeff Wilson doesn't get the first down.
Coming off the field, yes, that was a big one.
Yeah, that's leadership. This is why I wanted to follow up with this. Because, again, narratives being crushed. If you think he learned that this offseason to do all that, that's all natural. That's been happening for years since Alabama. The problem is he got cock-blocked for 2 years by his coach. There was a scene where he says, I don't know how to give speeches. Well, that's what Flo wanted you to do to become a captain, to politic and all that. That's not his thing. And you kind of knew that. Zach Thomas wasn't going to give you any speeches either. Zach Thomas was going to lead by example. Zach Thomas was going to be a good teammate in the locker room, encourage you, this, that. but he wasn't going to stand up in the middle of the locker room and start doing speeches or tell you why I'm supposed to be captain or nothing. No, you will gravitate to him because he's just a great player. That's just.
And like, I think that, I don't know if you froze or if I froze, so I'm gonna just start talking. But I thought it was critical. And if you remember back when he was first named a captain, when we talked to him about it at his press conference, he said, you didn't have to. What I appreciated is you didn't have to hop up here and give a speech. It was one of, I think, several little thinly veiled jabs at Brian Flores, whose name he said for the first time the week that they played the Steelers. So yeah, I think that coaching is more than the X's and O's. And a friend of mine, Benjamin Solak from The Ringer, oh man, I'll get the full box. All right, I'll get the full bars then. Benjamin Solak from The Ringer wrote a story after Brian Flores was fired that basically said Flores was a good coach, but he didn't get the full game of coaching. He didn't play the full game. He's good at the X's and O's. He's good at constructing a defense. He was not good at team building that chemistry. And so when you say that McDaniel came in here and changed the culture, he is a people person. When you ask, I've asked plenty of former players, former coaches, associates of Mike McDaniel what he is like before I got to actually interact with him. And two things usually popped up first. It was super genius and players coach, big time players coach. So he knows that he's the kind of person who understands who he has in his locker room. He's the type of person who knows how guys like to be coached and knows how to get through to them, and then goes and does that. And surprise, surprise, they respond to him in adverse situations. They respond to him down 21 in Baltimore. They respond to him down 14 in Detroit. They respond to him, against the Steelers, against the Bears. And then you see kind of the culmination of everything against the Browns this past Sunday, which, I've covered 3 absolute blowout, barn burner, kick the door in wins for the Dolphins. It was Panthers last year. It was Giants last year. But this Browns win, I think, was the most dominant win that I have personally covered from the Dolphins in the past 2 years. Just because, they've beaten the Panthers. It was just, Cam Newton was 5 for 25. It was just as much as bad play from their opponent as it was good play from their defense. But this past Sunday, it was dominant offense, dominant defense. Can't say dominant special teams until you make all your kicks and extra points, but it was just a dominant overall effort. So, shout out to Mike McDaniel for being able to change the culture so quickly. Between him and I think Kevin O'Connell isn't getting enough credit for what he's doing up there in Minnesota. But these first-year coaches, between those two and then Brian Dable, my guy, I think that these are your front runners for Coach of the Year, with Nick Sirianni also sprinkled into the mix. And look, when the coaching search first opened up, I didn't know who Mike McDaniel was until about mid-January, if I'm going to be completely honest. I thought Brian Dable was the guy. I thought, this is obviously he and I have a relationship from when we were both in Buffalo, but I thought similar to Mike McDaniel, he is a smart X's and O's coach, but he's also a player's coach. He's also somebody who knows how to extract the most out of his guys. And that's what you're seeing with a less than talented roster in New York right now, is you're seeing a guy who knows how to extract the most out of the players he gets because they trust him and they ride for him. And that is how you carry a show, baby, through technical difficulties. Big O, back to you.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being a pro.
It was just 5 straight minutes of bars, man. Ask everybody.
It's I was listening on the I was listening on the iPad. And to kind of wrap that up, he did not learn how to be a leader right there and then. He was doing a lot of this at Alabama, and I was told about this. I've been told about this for a while now. And the problem was people put that label on him like, oh, he doesn't want to be a leader. Oh, this, that. And he's always been that guy. The problem is he's not going to include us in his world, not going to include fans or media. It's the people that are, directly to him. Like at the end of the game, You went to Jacoby and you told him you loved him. You know what I mean? Because he's allowed in his world. And that's kind of what it is. We don't get to see any of that because it's usually happening behind the scenes. But it was not.
Somebody put a picture up of his someone put a picture up of his wife and child. I don't know if it's a baby boy or girl. I'm trying to figure out where the original photo came from. I'm not sure if it was posted by the Dolphins. I'm not sure if it was just somebody with a professional camera or what. It didn't necessarily feel like something he would want out. He was not happy that he was asked about his marriage.
Right.
I can't imagine he's thrilled. You know how people get, especially celebrities, a lot of them don't like pictures of their children on the internet. Some of them do. You know, the Kardashian West, whatever they're called now, family. You know, The kids dress up, they're fashion, they're basically little models and everything. Like some people, they are about that. Some people are very private. Tua, I think, is one of them. So I am interested in that. But no, I think you're just seeing.
What's the name of the woman? What's the name of the woman that she was in those movies where those things go from a car to a machine and
Transformers.
And she's
Megan
married
Fox.
yes. Did her profile give you a little Megan Fox type of look?
I didn't look that closely, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't over there.
If by the way, Sean, if you can find that photo of Tua kissing his wife there at the game, I swear
I'm not going to discuss his wife, but
it's not.
I like the memes. I like the memes a lot more. I think somebody doctored one.
Listen, I'm not talking about body or not. I'm not talking about anything. I'm just saying when he kissed her, the side of her face, she has a Megan Fox look. That's all I'm saying. It's just there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Jesus, that's not an insult.
I'm not saying it's an insult. I'm not saying it's a compliment. I'm saying that you're not going to catch me commenting one way or another on this man's wife, on anybody's wife.
Oh, well, I'm just the pictures out there. I mean, what can I can't do anything if the
you're going to catch me on the right side of history on this one, my boy.
No, that's fine.
I like the memes. I like the memes. And somebody said, that photo is doctored. That's not true. And they photoshopped Josh Allen's face onto the baby and said, this is the original photo. That made me laugh. There's another picture of like another meme where it was like, here's Tua and the rest of his children. And it's like every quarterback that the Dolphins have beat this year. Like, I like that. I thought that was real funny.
Am I lying now? Look.
Hey, look, man, when have you ever got me to comment on something that I said I'm not going to comment on?
This is a harmless comment.
Not never.
Okay, all right. There's nearly 600 people. Does she not give you a little Megan Fox look? Say yes or no.
Hey, look, you say 600 people. I say that a man this morning, as I'm walking my dog, called out to me from the street to say what's up. The man who knew who I was, not because of my body of work with ESPN, but because of what I do with you in this show. So, it comes out like it comes out. I saw a clip of me on the show on Twitter like last week. So
that's right.
No.
No. Hey, listen, at least it's better than the one they did on Poop. Boy, they killed Poop, man. It's funny.
Yeah, they kind of did. I don't think he's very happy that his words were twisted or that the context was not added. But also, I know people who work for the Dolphins also very much watch this show. So
I know.
I've been told. There are things I'm going to comment on, and like I said, players' wives, children, family.
Nothing bad. We're not saying anything disrespectful here. That's all. Her profile had a little Megan Fox. That's all I'm saying. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, dude. I don't find I'm not saying anything negative about. I mean, dude, if there's anybody been more positive about Tua, it doesn't exist than yours truly, bro. It doesn't exist. No, I'm a better left tackle for Tua than Teron Armstead ever will be, bro. I mean, come on. I've got that guy's back. I've had it from the get-go. Even when he was in the abyss the last 2 years, I had his back. So it's not, I'm just saying that's who I thought of right away when I saw it. I go, wow, she looks a little Megan Fox's.
Greatest show on surf is really funny. You know what? I was just talking to my girlfriend about it, and I do think it's curious to say the least. When you look up his wife's name, which y'all are capable of finding it, I'm not going to say it.
I don't even know.
If you look up his wife's name, which we all had to do when the marriage came out, there are outlets. Outkick is the one that comes to mind that say, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa marries former Alabama sorority girl. And I just feel like when he's talking about disrespect, like that's it right there.
Right.
That's not her career. That's not her freaking calling card. Like, she's not, you don't ever say like, oh, ESPN hires former Arizona State fraternity boy to cover the Dolphins. Like, that's such a ridiculous thing to describe somebody as when they are, I'm guessing she's 23, 24 years old. I don't know, but it's just such a ridiculous way to describe somebody that, like, it makes you, it's no surprise that he says, I don't like this being in the public spotlight, because people don't show respect.
You picked a hell of a site to use as an example. Okay.
A site
that uses political twists for their opinions on.
It's just, I feel like you don't have to describe her as former Alabama sorority girl. Like, I feel like it's dismissive. It's reductive. That is the word I'm looking for. We're gonna get there eventually. It's just it's reductive.
That's one site that isn't bookmarked in my life. I don't visit Outkick. It's not. Not a fan of the dude that leads it, to be quite honest. So hard for me to be supportive of that guy overall. Listen, this is something that we get to do that we haven't done in a long time here on a bye week in the 11th week of the season. Normally, you watch the other teams in the division, but it really doesn't mean anything because you're really not doing anything more often than not. At 7-3 now, these other games mean something to Dolphin fans. That's something that hasn't happened here, Marcel, in decades, bro. Decades. Okay.
Yeah, no, every game absolutely matters. This is why, like, I think Bills fans are starting to squirm a lot, because they're down a game. I think they're tied with the Jets and down half a game to the Dolphins, but they lost tiebreakers to both teams, which means, like, not only do they have to win the second matchup with New York and second matchup with Miami, but they also have to now win with the other qualifiers. They have to have a better AFC East record. They have to sweep the Patriots. They have to have a better record in the AFC, which, to their credit, I think their third loss, the Vikings, are NFC. So, like, I don't think they're doing, I think they're still in the running from that regard, but they are no longer in the driver's seat. And it's a problem that's plagued that team. Their desperation to get that first seed and make people come to the snow, it hasn't been working. And so here they go again, where Miami is in the driver's seat in the AFC East now. I still think that Buffalo's a bigger threat than New York. I think that New York's quarterback is going to hold it back in the long run. But Miami is the team to beat, and not just in the AFC East. I think right up there with the Chiefs, they're a team to beat in the AFC, period. Again, we talk about this almost every week. Legitimate argument for at least 9-1 if Tua doesn't get hurt. They were a different team with Tua on the field than they are without him, predictably so. But with him, they're a powerhouse. If that run game continues this trend we've seen the past 2 weeks, this offense is not capable of being stopped. Like, I don't think the offense is capable of being stopped, because who do you key in on? You key on the run game. Hill and Waddle are going to light you up in man coverage. You drop people back, all of a sudden Jeff Wilson can move the sticks. Raheem Mostert picks his spots and can hit gaps, spelling them out or spelling each other. And then, of course, that defense, man. Like, if that trio of Ingram, Phillips, and Chubb can get pressure like they were against Cleveland, this is a different team. Then this is that defensive revival that everybody's been waiting for all season. When you watch the film, when those three are on the field at the same time, it's generally Chubb and Ingram on either side with Phillips' hand in the dirt. Phillips is capable. He's strong enough and has that blend of size and speed enough that he can occupy multiple blockers and free things up for guys like Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins. And there was a specific play where, man, Chubb wins with bend around Tristan or Jedrick Wills, the left tackle. Ingram just straight up bullies the right tackle into Jacoby Brissett. And we've got three guys who can win like that and still have to deal with Sealer and Wilkins. That's that philosophical shift in defensive strategy that I was talking to you about when they traded for Chubb. Like, we're starting to kind of see it come together here. Every game matters. This bye week probably couldn't have come at a more perfect time. You know, they go into it hot. They get 1 week of a kind of a warm up with Houston at home, and then they start the month from hell. It's the hardest schedule I think I have seen in my 4 or 5 years of covering the NFL. When you have to go, regardless of how these teams are playing, when you have to be at San Francisco, at Chargers, at Buffalo in consecutive weeks, and then you've got to play Green Bay at home. I don't care how Green Bay has looked. It's still Aaron Rodgers. You know, it's still one of those teams where, as long as Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, as long as those three guys are playing, Brady are playing quarterback, you can't rule that team out. Then they've got to play at Patriots on New Year's Day, and then they've got to end the season against a way better than expected New York Jets team. This last month is going to tell us more about the Miami Dolphins than the previous two combined. I think they've put themselves in a great position. They're starting to play their best football right now. They're still ascending. They're still getting better. We haven't seen lulls when they're at full strength. I think that's important. It is hard to say that the Dolphins are not in one of the best positions in the AFC to get out of this conference.
The good thing is, from what you saw the first half of the season, going into that stretch, you can win those games. So it's not like the idea that people thought at the beginning of the season, if the Dolphins go 2-2, that'll be great for them. If they go 1-3, that's kind of expected. If it's 0-4, things are really bad. But very few people had 3-1 or 4-0. And so now, after the fact, that's the one thing that has changed, Marcel, that while it's a brutal stretch, it's not like Miami's going into it like they have in the last 20 years. Oh, my God, they'd be lucky to get out of that with a 500 record. No, this team can actually win most of those games if they're playing up to snuff, right?
And you know what? When the schedules drop every year, we at ESPN, each team writer does like some sort of prediction and, analysis. And my bold prediction was that the Dolphins were going to start the season 8-2. That was my bold prediction. I thought they'd be better than expected. I thought if they got off to a hot start and the chemistry didn't take as long to build as you would expect from a first-year coach and all these new weapons, that the first 4 games weren't going to be as brutal as they looked on paper, and that they could coast throughout the month of October and November. I'm 1 game off. I was 1 game off. It wasn't that bold after all. I love it when a plan comes together. I love it when a bold prediction comes together.
You should be 2 games off.
Yeah, in the other direction.
Right.
The other direction.
To a healthy, and they're 10-0. That's how you should be wrong that way, not the other way.
See, and it seems like I've been saying 9-1 just because it seems and feels obnoxious to say like they would never lose if he was the.
They'd be 9-1 or 10-0. Yeah, I agree with that.
You can find an argument for them to have won every game. They were in all of those. They were in the Jets game with Skylar Thompson, barely making an impact, respectfully, because he wasn't preparing as a starter. That was his first week even preparing as the backup, and he was thrust into action. He did good for what his circumstance was, but he was not a difference maker in that game, and they were still in it until literally the wheels fell off in the last 3 minutes. I love it when I see, every now and then I get bored. I scroll through Twitter and I like to go through debates and arguments to see what people are saying. I see a lot of people that, they talk about that Jets game and say, the Jets scored 40. Oh, they got blown out by the Jets. Yeah, there's levels to blowouts, man. That was, blowout on paper, but that truly it was like a span of 4 plays in the last 3 minutes of the game that changed the entire outlook. Sanders missed that field goal. And the strip sack happens, and the wheels were off. It was done from there. So like that wasn't. They're not 30 points better than the Dolphins. I honestly don't think they're better than the Dolphins at all. So
All right.
there's
Final
that.
question. Wrap it up with this. What happens out of these 5 things? You must pick one. There's no fence straddling on this show. There's no hemming and hawing. No buts, no ifs, no ands, no nothing. You must pick one. Greer wins Executive of the Year. Mike McDaniel wins Head Coach of the Year. Tyreek wins the MVP. Tua wins the MVP. The Super Bowl, the Dolphins win the Super Bowl. Which of those 5 happens?
Okay, so McDaniel.
One of them's got to happen.
McDaniel Coach of the Year.
I think at least 4 of them are going to happen.
Greer Exec of the Year. Tua MVP. Tyreek MVP. Dolphins Super Bowl.
That's right.
It's tough because the Dolphins aren't winning the Super Bowl and not winning an MVP award. You know what I mean? Like, so like they're not winning MVP without winning the Super Bowl.
Pressure's off. You just got to pick one. Got to pick one.
I'm going to take Tyreek MVP out because as much as we want to say he might deserve it, it's more possible for a skill player to win like award like the Heisman than it is to win the NFL MVP.
Amen.
I'm trying to just think off the top of my head what executives have had a better year than Chris Greer. Because all the major moves, like when you think major moves, the Raiders,
from coach
all
to
of them
players,
suck now.
The dude nailed it from coach to players.
Like, what is Chandler Jones even doing anything in Vegas? Somebody in the chat, please Google Chandler Jones stats for me. Because like that, I don't think he's doing anything with the Raiders. Devontae Adams isn't making an impact.
He's had a good year, but it's not his fault. What's going on?
What's it called? John Schneider in Seattle might because they had a hell of a draft this year, and getting rid of Russ is looking like the best move. Philly's made a ton of moves. What's his name? Howie Roseman is going to be in the hunt.
Come on,
I don't think anybody added as much star power to their team as Chris Greer did. So I would say Chris Greer, GM of the Year, is the most likely. Okay. Is the path of least resistance to actually happening, I should say.
Fair enough. That's it. That's all we wanted.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, Tyreek, Teron, Chubb. That's 3 Pro Bowl. That's 3 Pro Bowl caliber talents.
That's your article right there. How many teams in the NFL can make the claim that 5 different people are up for legitimate awards? How many teams in the NFL can say they've got a candidate for Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year, 2 NFL MVPs, and could be a Super Bowl contender the way their offense is playing right now?
Yeah, I feel like the Super Bowl is like like if you have people in contention for exec Coach of the Year and MVP, you're probably Super Bowl. You got to be a Super Bowl contender. Your team can't suck if all 3 of those things are true.
It's what you said initially. You're not going to get one without the other along the way, but just to make it easy for you, just give me one that you think is going to happen. So you went with
I think Greer, Executive of the Year, is I think he's leading it. I think that's most likely. If this draft class, like if Tyndall or Ezukama was like coming on right now, and they could say, okay, we had 4 draft picks and 1 or 2 of them are like in like constant contributors, then I think it would be a wash.
Well, I think Skyler was a fine. Skyler was because
he's the best draft pick of the 4. He was their best pick.
Well, because the other guys are more developmental guys. Ezukama, you don't really need right now. Tyndall, you don't really need nearly as much right now. So they're kind of on the back burner for next year. Probably is when those guys will really get their opportunities. But how many executives do you know that draft their starter in 1 year and then a couple of years later draft a backup? That's pretty freaking cool.
I think finding a backup quarterback, legit backup quarterback in the 7th round is it's impressive. Like it's like I said, I'm not using the draft class against Greer. I'm not saying like it was a bad draft class. I'm saying like if with only 4 picks he found like a constant starter, a constant contributor, that it would be a runaway. Like this would be a runaway race. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I'm with you there. All right, follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ. Catch his exceptional work there at ESPN. And, of course, you can catch him twice a week here doing his thing with our myedgedrink.com Miami Dolphins report. And remember, delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste. You can't get it in a store. I promise you, you're going to freak out when you try it. myedgedrink.com. Delicious, smooth, zero aftertaste, and only 78 calories. And an amazing elixir. It goes awesome with my Grey Goose. Oh, it makes the vodka disappear. myedgedrink.com. Marcel, thank you. We will catch up on Friday, my friend.
Yes, sir. Catch me on Warzone until then.
You got it. There you go. Marcel Louis-Jacques, you now have the edge.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.